We're doing a double elimination tournament, so that's just how the first round goes. Seeds will favor higher seeded players. Alright, so first you're going to see our runners dealing with some targets here.
Charge really the hardest part of the early game.
Yeah, there's a reason you see people clap at GDQ. We see a nice extended dash there from Kalibur.
Oh yeah, the music is still on.
Not really much to talk about as far as Frigate here. It's pretty standard. There's some dashing and things that go on. And Interslice doing a RTA strat there to skip the elevator cutscene. And it looks like we might have lost Kalibur. Or we might just be dropping frames. Looks like Interslice is going to escape now. We'll see what method he chooses. Whether he chooses to go inbounds or if he chooses to do the wall crawl. Stream must be going pretty slow right now. Okay, Interslice opting to go inbounds. Oh, God. Okay.
Hopefully this thing is better now.
Evacuate immediately. Evacuate immediately. Evacuate immediately.
Caesar, if you have to, just download Chrome or Edge.
No, I have the thing working just fine.
Okay, you do? Okay, I didn't know.
Yeah, I'm just trying to work
Alrighty.
on figuring out. Yeah, sorry to go about the current live commentary. Dante is having trouble getting the restream to work, and then we're just trying to think through the audio delay of around 40 seconds. Kalibur streams first. The stream is getting refreshed.
Yeah, okay. There we go.
We have
It's
audio
like our-
supply. Okay. Well, except that Calibur's just not moving on the restream.
He might be dropping frames.
No, he's doing just fine on his stream. Okay. So up
Okay.
to this point in the race, our runners have gone through Frigate and done the first major trick of Metroid Prime 90%, and that is collecting the space jump boots as their first item. Then they proceeded to go to Chozo, collect Morph Ball and bombs, as well as some missiles and an E-tank. And they're going to go fight Flagra for various suits so they can continue on to Magmar Caverns. Interslice has just performed a trick to skip a sequence of scanning runes to open up that gate by doing a DBJ and getting stuck on a bit of collision and then being able to jump over the top of the gate. It doesn't save all that much time using in-game time, which is the timing standard for Metroid Prime, but it does save a significant amount of real time, which is all the more important in a race where timing is done RTA.
It'll be interesting to see here which strat for fighting Flagra that both runners go for. There's 3 different methods. You can fight it the regular way. You can fight it by just jumping onto the bomb slots. It looks like he is going to opt to jump on. Interslice is going to opt to just jump onto the bomb slots. However, he could face some issues as far as health since he decided to stun Flagra. When you decide to stun Flagra, he swipes for a lot longer, and he will swipe after the cutscene.
Yeah.
So he has a
Between
chance to
phase,
hit you.
If done properly, you will see Flagra swipe 8 times. But if you stun Flagra by shooting Flagra and not by shooting a mirror, the last 2 swipes will be done after the cutscene invulnerability ends, and you will take a substantial amount of damage.
Okay. Interslice, avoiding most of the damage from the slashes. And so what Kalibur is doing here is actually distracting Flagra by shooting one of the mirrors. That whenever you shoot a mirror, Flagra will immediately go to the mirror. That's a funny animation. Kalibur is going to get sliced here, unfortunately, I think, though.
Yeah.
Or no. That's weird. I've never seen this.
I haven't either.
This is one of the strangest Flagras.
Okay. So the next trick after doing Flagra is to get the Artifact of Wild immediately after Flagra without having to collect the super missiles or spider ball that is normally required in order to actually be able to get the Artifact of Wild. There are 2 methods for doing this, one of which is a slow method, which involves going out of bounds, getting what's called floaty, and then jumping partway down this shaft. And then there's the good method, which is to jump into this corner like interslice is doing. You hold up left, and then because of the friction, you're able to do an infinite bomb jump and hit the trigger and climb back up that way, saving a massive amount of time over the intended method and a substantial amount of time.
He almost went too high
wild.
there.
The ideal position in order to do the unmorph is as soon as you're above that vine that you can see along the left side of the wall, you unmorph, or well, you hold upright and then you unmorph, and you should be able to make it onto the ledge. If you go too high, or you unmorph when too close to the left side of the wall, you'll get an instant unmorph, which is just where you don't get the unmorphing animation, and you will fall.
No, we won't bully them, East. It's just highly encouraged to do the IBJ.
So they will generally be questioned, and not many people will be able to help them, as nobody has done Floaty Wild in a while.
Yeah, it's a good bully. It's an encouraging.
Ooh, Kalibur unmorphing when both too high and before holding upright for long enough, which caused him to get that instant unmorph. But he was able to land on the block, so he's going to get another chance without having to reload his save.
He unmorphed a bit too late, so... Oh, he's just going to... Maybe he's vying for just going for super missiles.
That's an interesting decision.
That is an interesting decision.
I don't believe Kalibur does go for spiderless shafts, so...
He doesn't. He does fight hardest.
This will only be a somewhat small detour to get supers.
Oh. He's resetting.
Wait. No, he's choosing to reset instead. So you're gonna see another Flagra fight. And as long as his flower fight goes okay and he's able to get early wild, this will be faster than having to detour to get super missiles. Okay, so moving on from the ghost fight, which is somewhat annoying as you have to either just hit each one individually with charge shots to kill them as fast as possible, or you can attempt to lock them in their dashing animation by hitting them with a charge shot just as they begin to dash, and if you repeat that with a pretty good timing, you can hold them in place until you've done enough damage to kill them, but it can be decently finicky. In Magmor, it's mostly just trying to do optimized movement in order to get to the first part of Phendrana. For those of you who don't know, you're able to destroy that pillar to get the artifact of nature by just firing 2 missiles.
Yeah, it's an any percent race. Anything can happen. And it's RTA.
Yeah,
There are a lot of run killers in this run.
definitely. It wouldn't be surprising at all to see the occasional death during phase on mines, or even during the final bosses, depending on how comfortable each runner is with each of those sections of the game. Along with the extra stress that comes from being in a race.
Okay. Interslice opting not to do a dash. It's a strat you don't often see very often. And he's going to go for race tank wisely.
Race tank is just this energy tank that gets to do several double bomb jumps in order to get it. Wastes around 10 seconds, and because of that is normally not gotten in serious PB attempts by high level runners, but it's definitely a good idea to get it during races, as it just adds a little bit of margin for error in case you get hit. After entering Phendrana, for a normal any percent attempt, you actually don't skip the cutscene that comes when entering Phendrana, because Samus will walk forwards a bit during the cutscene without taking any time during the in-game timer. But because this is a real-time attack race, you will not be seeing that.
Is Kalibur letting himself die? Why not just get out and finish it?
I'm not sure. Okay. Kalibur is saying that there's an IRL emergency that he has to deal with, and so he is going to have to drop from this race.
Alright. No.
Unfortunate, but real life does take priority over things like speedrunning. Everybody, just please wish Kalibur luck with whatever this emergency is, and I guess we'll be watching we'll just commentate throughout the rest of Interslice's run, provided he does not decide to do a reschedule for Kalibur.
Yes, interslice must complete.
Interslice is opting to take a safety save. There are two different methods you will see runners do in order to get the wave beam and the artifact of sun. The first method and the fastest method is to do a out of bounds sequence by doing a R dash from the top of this room to get out of bounds, and then the runner will drop down onto the door leading to the Chozo Ice Temple. They will force load the room by shooting the door and jumping back up. Then they will transition the door by walking to the right, which will put the map on this tunnel. Then they'll jump down again to unload Phendrana shorelines so that the game will not crash. They will force load Chozo Ice Temple, and then they're going to do a series of jumps in order to be able to get up to the higher level of the room. From there, they need to load the tunnel to get to the chapel, and that will disable all of the physics. Well, okay. All of the friction in Chozo Ice Temple, allowing for the runners to get infinite speed, which is where the game loses track of both your position and your speed, and your shell of your morphball disappears. And if you boost while in this state, Samus touches everything that is currently loaded on the same frame, and that allows you to collect both the wave beam and the artifact of sun in this specific situation. There are two setups that are commonly used after getting back inbounds from after getting back inbounds in order to get infinite speed. The first is you look at the center of the diamond around the bomb slot, you morph, and then you hold down left. The other is that you go into the corner between the pillar you can see on the left and the wall, and if you turn to the point at which you can no longer see past the side of the wall, morph, hold a kind of weird angle between straight left and down left on a GameCube controller, and then once you start spinning up and your animation begins to glitch, you hold straight left, you will then be able to get infinite speed. Once you have infinite speed in the first method that I described, you want to bomb once and then boost into the wall, and you'll collect both the wave beam and the artifact of sun. For the second method, once you get infinite speed, you do not want to bomb, but you want to boost twice in order to excuse me? How did interslice lose? Oh, never mind. And as long as you got the correct angle when setting up to get infinite speed, 2 boosts will allow you to collect both items. After getting both Wave Beam and the Artifact of Sun, we no longer need anything from the near side of Phendrana Drifts, So we head back to Magmore in order to collect the artifact of... Actually, which is the artifact in this room? It's the Warrior Shrine, but it does not have the artifact of Warrior. Strength. Thank you, Justin. Then we are going to be taking the shortest route possible to get back to the Talon Overworld, and from there to the Chozo Ruins front entrance, which is to head down through Monitor Station, through... Dang it, I'm dropping names. To get to the elevator, which brings you to the bottom of the Root Cave in Talon Overworld. You then climb Root Cave and enter Chozo Ruins through the first elevator that you saw right after Space Jump First. From there, you go into the room where you get Morph Ball. You do a jump to a little branch, and you're able to get to the Sun Tower. Actually, not Sun Tower. Is it? I apologize to the viewers for the fact that I'm getting a bit ahead of the action currently. Just still thinking about Kalibur and hoping. While Metroid Prime does have a decent number of skips and sequence breaks that allow you to save a substantial amount of time, those will only get you down to around the 2-hour mark or less for a starting player, and from there a lot of the optimization and speed actually comes from getting really consistent at the different movement tech in the game, as well as learning good routes through rooms. And here you can see interslice jumping on that little branch I talked about earlier. From there, you can either do a dash off of a scan point to the bottom left of Samus's position, or to the bottom right and dash directly to the door, or just do the jump that you saw interslice do. When you're trying to get the artifact of Life Giver, you normally are required to have the gravity suit in order to actually be able to jump up, but due to how the physics in the game works, if you do a slope jump, which is a jump where if you are moving up a slope and you jump, you get extra height, allowing you to reach higher locations. In the water, that extra height is massively increased when compared to a normal physics situation where you only get a slight increase in your height. And that allows you to get to Life Giver without needing gravity boost. From there, you are going to head to Magma Pool, which is where you're going to see the second and final infinite speed of an any percent run, which is done by getting between these boxes and the wall, turning until a point somewhere between where you can look straight at the grapple point and one of the pillars on the left side of the room. Then you morph and hold down left and just wait for around 55 seconds of in-game time. It takes a little bit longer in real time because Magnapool creates a substantial amount of lag, causing it to take closer to about a minute to a minute and 10 seconds. That can be reduced by holding the boost button throughout the spinning up period of getting infinite speed, and that can cause the camera to pan to a point at which you are no longer looking at the lava, reducing the lag. Once your shell disappears and you have infinite speed, you just bomb out, and then you boost towards the door and you will collect a power bomb expansion, which is going to be important in order to be able to get to X-ray without heading to mines first, as well as giving you mines access from Magmor instead of the intended entrance after the sunken cricket. Now, when you do infinite speed, if you unmorph, you will experience a condition known as light show. If you're on Dolphin, it will display as a black screen, but if you are on console, it will show as a ton of just really messed up graphics and stretched geometry. And in this state of light show, you are unable to actually shoot your beam and have it interact with anything. And generally, once you see light show, you are only able to exit it if you enter into a cutscene or you get into a position where there is a fixed camera, and then you morph, which will generally allow you to remove light show. Then, in order to completely remove light show, you do have to get into a cutscene, and the easiest way to do that is to get to a save station. It's also the fastest way when doing the magnet full infinite speed, as it leads you towards your next destination, which is to get the Ice Beam. Getting Ice Beam normally requires both the Boost Ball and the Spider Ball, but with the use of an R jump, you're able to skip the Boost Ball requirement. An R jump is a trick where if you jump forwards and then you hold R before doing your space jump, then you press L, do your space jump, and then release L within about 11 frames, you will be able to... Sorry. You will gain additional speed compared to if you do a normal jump forwards. And it allows you to clear Crossway, which is the room that normally would lock you into needing Boost Ball, according to the intended logic of the game. In order to skip Spider Ball, we jump on a bit of collision, and then from there you're able to just jump straight up to the platform that has the Morph Ball slot that activates the different beam activated Morph Ball slots on the backside of the room, which then allows you to access the room that leads to the Ice Beam, which is the second location where you would normally be required to have Boost Ball, but we're going to skip that by jumping on a Stone Toad and doing a slope jump off of its back in order to get to the second level of the room. And from there we're just able to easily collect the Ice Beam. and move on towards a Talon entrance leading us to the X-ray visor. The X-ray visor is important because without the X-ray visor, you are unable to damage the Omega Pirate, which is the boss in the game that holds the Phazon suit. And the Phazon suit is required in order to be able to stand in Phazon without taking damage, but more importantly, to be able to use the Phazon beam in the second stage of the final boss of the game, which is the only way to damage that boss. Getting X-ray requires 3 items normally, actually no, 4. You need Ice Beam in order to actually get to the part of the room that contains, that leads you towards Life Grove and Life Grove Tunnel. You need Boost Ball in order to get through Life Grove Tunnel. You need Spider Ball in order to climb that Spider Ball pillar that you saw before Life Grove Tunnel. And you need Power Bombs to blow up the block that allows you to access the Boost Tunnel in Life Grove Tunnel. That is a lot of saying Life Grove Tunnel. But we're able to skip the Spider Ball requirement by jumping on top of one of the spider pillars and then jumping backwards so that we do not hit our heads on the platform at the top of the room. And then you just jump forwards onto the platform and are able to access Life Grove Tunnel and use the power bomb that we got from Magnapool. Then we're simply able to deal with the worst room in the game and hopefully not get our speed stolen. Collect a free missile tank, because if done optimally, you will not lose any time when accessing Life Grove because the room will be loading while you're collecting it. Then you grab X-ray, get a guaranteed power bomb drop from the Phazon crawler, or whatever it's called, and you blow up the walls around the enclosed section of Life Grove, and from there you're able to collect the artifact. Then in order to skip the pirate fight, you jump on a rock and do an R jump back up to the tunnel leading through Life Grove Tunnel, and you simply leave and head back towards Chozo. Once entering Chozo, we're going to be heading back to the Talon Overworld, where we are able to take what is generally the only used save station in a non-race any percent run, which will refill all of your consumable ammunition, that is your missiles and your power bombs, as well as heal you to full. This is generally what is considered the midpoint of the run, and is where there's a different practice category of the game that's just referred to ship save runs, which is, while not tracked on the leaderboards, it's a good way in order to practice the entire second section of the game when trying to improve your time, as the game is not very forgiving as far as speedrunning goes, so a lot of runners will get through most of the early game and then end up resetting before they get to the late game, and ship save runs allow you to get in the practice that you need in order to actually make it through those late game sections of the game. After taking ship save, you enter Magmore through the root cave entrance, and you head over to collect the plasma beam. Normally, the plasma beam requires you to have Spider Ball in order to be able to get to it. And it does this by blocking you off in two ways. The first is getting through Twin Fire's tunnel, which is basically just a room with a large magma pit and a platform on the far side of the room that's elevated to the point at which normally you are unable to just jump to it without using the spider ball, but there are multiple ways to cross it. The easiest one for most people, well, not the most standard beginner method is to land on a piece of collision in the far left side of the room, like you saw Interslice do, and do a scan dash off of the spider track running along the ceiling. But there is also a better method, which involves doing a bunny hop, which is basically if you do an R jump on the first frame, the first 3 frames of hitting the ground, you get an increase of speed. Well, okay. You only get the increase of speed if you do the bunny hop on frame 1 or 2, but you maintain your current speed on frame 3. Anything past that and you're losing speed, or just not doing a bunny jump at all, or a bunny hop at all. And with that conserved momentum or gained momentum, you're able to carry yourself to the other side of the room. You can also do an R jump from a spot a little bit more to the right of Twin Fire's tunnel and ride the collision in the center of the room before doing the space jump in order to get enough distance to make it to the other side of the room. And once you enter the phase-out processing center, you're able to easily climb up the room by jumping on some collision to get to the series of morph ball spinners that raise these platforms. And after doing pretty much the intended method of raising all of those platforms, you will find yourself blocked off by a spider trap in order to get to the bomb that is normally required if you want to access the bomb slot, which raises the roof of the room. But if you jump on that bomb slot, walk slightly to, or not the bomb slot, on the spider trap, walk slightly to the left, you're able to get a slope jump to get up above that spider track, and you're able to activate the bomb slot. From there, the ceiling of the room will raise, and you will have 2 ways in order to be able to get to the ice beam door, which gets you to your plasma beam. The first is to jump on that pillar with a spider track on it that you see extend from the right during the cutscene, and do a slope jump into an R jump to land on the platform right in front of the ice beam door, or on the invisible platform that extends a bit further out. The second is just to jump to some sandable terrain along the wall, and from there you're able to do a series of jumps on top of blocks in order to be able to get to that door. Then, upon entering Phendrana Drifts, you do a simple jump onto some sandable terrain in order to skip the spider ball requirement to get to Far Phendrana, and you do mostly intended movement in order to get to Phendrana's edge, where we skip the grapple beam requirement by getting onto this branch and doing a slope jump to get to a platform and moving, and which skips the requirements for grapple beam, allowing you to collect the artifact. You can then optionally climb to the very top of the room in order to get an extra power bomb, which reduces the chances that you will not, that you will not have power bombs in places that you need it throughout the rest of the run. But that does lose time, so a lot of runners will not opt to do that. Here, Dante, can you take over for a minute? I need to drink something.
Yeah, sorry. Sorry, guys. I was putting out a few fires of my own tonight. So right now, Interslice is heading to go get the Artifact of Elder in Watchtower. And he could use Plasma to break through the ice and shoot the missile at the tower. But he's going to be doing something a little different, I predict.
So Interslice opted to spend some extra time in this room in order
Sorry,
to
I've been putting out a
collect
few fires. I'm back now.
an extra energy tank, as well as get a power bomb drop that'll allow him to access phase-on mines through the Primal Caverns.
Kalibur didn't die. He had a IRL situation come up, to where he had to forfeit the race.
Okay, so here's what Dante was talking about a minute ago.
So he's just
Where
gonna jump
normal-
up and shoot a missile at it.
Yeah, if you get on top of these blocks, and then you aim in a general area, and you jump forward and right, you're able to just shoot a missile over the top of the force field, and completely skip the plasma beam requirement, which saves some time over shooting the ice over the window that you would do if you were doing the run it in the intended manner. Interslice is going to be a bit careful right here to avoid hitting a cutscene, and which would lose over a minute because you have to fight a ton of pirates, some of which spawn rather slowly. You can also avoid a trigger which forces you to scan that scan point, which opens up the hologram to activate the elevator, but he did not get that, and so had to spend a couple seconds scanning the point to activate the elevator. While leaving the labs, we choose to grab the thermal visor not because we actually need it to complete any of the remaining parts of the game, but it does make the essence fight significantly easier and more consistent, and it doesn't lose any time if done optimally.
And plus, if you fall in FHB, it allows you to see a little bit.
Yeah. Well, okay. I guess thermal does lose a decent bit of time RTA, because you have to watch through those cutscenes.
As far as in-game time, though, it loses very minimal time, which is why it's in the route.
Yeah, it loses at most a couple of seconds compared to just
That's
leaving.
an interesting strat there. I've never seen that.
Yeah, most runners will do either a scan or will do either a dash off of those parasites crawling through that tunnel, or will do an R jump in order to skip the tunnel. But you can do that sustainable terrain exploit, or you can go through the tunnel in the intended manner. That is also the last time that we will be seeing Phendrana drifts throughout the rest of this run. For some runners, like Kalibur, you would actually be seeing a fight against Thardus, which is the boss that holds the spider ball. But you can skip the spider ball by doing some decently difficult tricks at the end of Phase on Mines. Then we choose to enter Phase on Mines through Magmore, which is just significantly faster, and this is also the second time that that early Powerbomb expansion that we got is extremely handy, because that actually allows us to get past that Powerbomb wall without having to collect either the Powerbomb expansion at the top of Phendrana's edge, or doing a small wall crawl through Workstation in order to be able to skip the Powerbomb wall.
And now we're going to see the first of two Elite Pirate skips. So this first one, he's going to activate the cutscene, and then we'll see which one. So he's going to jump on the top of this container here, and then just skip it. It's just a fast in-game time way of skipping it.
There is a slightly faster way, which is you can actually jump on top of that Elite Pirate, and from there you can jump either to that same fan that you saw Interslice jump to, or you can jump to the one on the right, and then jump on a slightly higher part of that fan and get up to the second layer that way, and that method is slightly faster. Here's the first time you're going to get to see a little quirk in Elite Pirate AI. Blink and you'll miss it. But if you do not actually stand directly in front of them or pass directly in front of them after they have completed their initial animations, then they actually won't begin their combat sequence, and you'll be able to just wail on them by continuing to walk either to the left or the right, depending on which direction you decided to stay on.
And then we have the other big RNG part of the run, which is the Powerbomb maze. It's randomly decided when you enter the room what maze you get. And so they can be anywhere from like 15 squares to 50 squares, I think, right?
I think it's 46 squares is the worst.
46? Okay.
Oh, and Interslice's timer is back up because seeing as Kalibur is no longer in the race, there isn't that 16
We'll just add 16 seconds to his
time. No.
Yeah.
15 to 55, okay.
Thanks for the maze knowledge there.
The X-ray visor also comes in handy when killing the invisible security drone which can be quite difficult for a lot of people in their intended runs, in their vanilla playthroughs, because as it is invisible, it can be hard to really understand where its hitboxes or when its vulnerable period is. But
So
using
interslice
X-ray visor, you're able to just see it, which makes killing it significantly easier.
So interslice just did a really good fast strat for this room, which is to freeze a Metroid and then dash off of it. And it looks like he's also... Oh, he tried to go for a... see if he stakes the landing. That's actually a lot harder to do than it looks. Okay. So he's going to do the missile dash here, I think.
Doing the dash off of that frozen Metroid keeps you from having to jump across the invisible platforms, and it's just decently fast, and it's just fast overall. This is also the first position in the mines where you have to do an additional trick in order to skip having the spider ball. And to do that trick, you blow up that power bomb wall, and you do a slope jump onto that scaffolding. And then from there, you have a choice of 2 dashes, one off of a Metroid that flies in front of you. If you did not kill all of the Metroids, the second is the dash we saw interslice4 off of the missile. And then the third is a pretty finicky R jump that you will probably not see anyone go for. In Fungal Hall A, you are able to skip the requirement of having Grapple Beam by either doing the dash that you saw Interslice do, or by going along the mushrooms and then doing, I think even an L jump works to get up to the final mushroom and head towards just exit the room. Here's the second situation where we skip Spider Ball, which can be done in a number of ways, but Interslice went for one of the faster methods, which is dashing using one of the Plasma Pirates on the far side of the room.
And Interslice also opting to take a safety save here before Omega Pirate.
Which is a wise decision.
Very wise.
Because all of these Beam Pirates can do a lot of damage. Omega Pirate does a lot of damage if you aren't able to get the fight to work the right way. And Omega Pirate also involves some decently tight timing strats if you're trying to do them optimally.
Trooper Skip is a trick that if you are low on health, tends to really screw you up.
And as you can see, you're able to do that same AI manipulation that you do to normal Elite Pirates with the Omega Pirate, which makes destroying all of his armor pieces extremely easy. It also saves a significant amount of time.
Interslice getting some good pirate RNG.
Yeah. He did not choose to go for that trick Dante was talking about, called Trooper Skip, which is where you drop a power bomb right under Omega Pirate's chin as he is raising it after being knocked down. And if done properly, it will keep any of the Beam Pirates from spawning, so that you don't have to worry about them getting in your way. Interslice did get lucky by having Plasma Pirates, which were incredibly easy to kill before Omega Pirate starts spawning. Then you are aiming to one-cycle the Omega Pirate. There are several ways to do this. The most beginner strat is to do it with 6 fully charged plasma beam shots. If any of them are not fully charged, you will not do enough damage. But if done fast enough while not having enough, you will be able to get an extra shot off to finish him off. You'll just lose a bit of time without getting the 2 cycle. You're able to manipulate where the Omega Pirate spawns in the pools by keeping in mind 2 things. The first is on his first spawn, he will always spawn on the pool that is the furthest away from you. On the second, and then all pools after that, he will spawn on the furthest one away from you that is not the previous pool. So he can't spawn at the same pool twice, and he will spawn at the furthest pool away, so you'll always know where he is actually going to be spawning at any given point. Which makes the rest of the fight just down to execution.
So right now, Interslice is backtracking to get Newborn. There is a trick to get this early, but it is a fairly advanced wall crawl. Or you have to have at least 12 energy tanks in order to just do it inbounds. But obviously with the N% route, that doesn't really afford for that. So he has to backtrack after a Mega Pirate to get it.
Yeah. If you want more details on the different strats, the different common strats for the Omega Pirate fight, both Remy Denny, who made the Metroid Prime 80% tutorial, and I both have videos explaining the fight in more depth than we're going to be going over today.
Yes, we do have more races scheduled for this week. Currently, the race is scheduled tomorrow. We have Fusion Varia versus Pyro Paper Planes, and THK versus Digglewrath. Then on Saturday, we have East versus Orbit, Durko versus Pitsky MP, and Dante Mostai 234 versus Zoxander.
Okay, so after beating Omega Pirate to get your Phazon suit and collecting the artifact of Newborn, you need it. The next objective is to get the artifact of Warrior, which is the artifact that is guarded by the Phazon Elite. In order to get to the artifact of Warrior from this part of the mines, you are normally required to have the spider ball in order to climb 2 shafts. And in order to skip them, you have to do what is called the spiderless shaft. Currently, Interslice is in shaft 1, which is climbed by getting into this corner he's standing in, doing a bomb space jump, which is where you get an instant unmorph, and you're able to, and as long as you jump within the first 21 frames of leaving the ground, you're able to get a jump off of mid-air, which allows you to land on this pillar or a spot on the left side of the room. Unfortunately, the wall messed with interslice here, so he's gonna have to do that again. But he got the BSJ 2 times in a row,
Which
is
is
quite good.
not easy. Any experienced runner will tell you that BSJ is probably one of the hardest things for a new runner to learn.
Yeah, if in order to get extremely consistent at it, you might spend well over 10 hours practicing just that BSJ. And many runners, it takes well over an hour of just working on it to get shaft 1 at all.
Yeah. When you watch a runner that knows what he's doing, like either of our runners today, they can make any of the tricks seem pretty doable, pretty easy. Which they're doable. I wouldn't say that they're undoable tricks, but they're definitely one of the more advanced tricks that you'd learn as a new runner.
After doing shaft 1, you move on to what is definitely a significant easier trick, which is in shaft 2, you have to do a slope jump to get on top of that grate above the entrance tunnel, then jump up to a bit of standable terrain, and then jump up onto a very annoying rock that likes to kick you off of it.
I respect his style in killing Calvin. For those of you who don't know, that power pirate at the top of this room, we call him Calvin because he's just super annoying. And he has an incredible aim. He can just hit you from the top of the room while you're down here, if he wants to. He'll fling you around when he wants to. He's just the worst.
He will kill your PB pace run
I've had it happen.
at least once.
Probably at least 3 or 4, not gonna lie.
After landing on the rock at the very top of, after landing on that annoying rock in shaft 2, you're able to do a decently easy jump onto the rotating rings and up to the door by jumping on one of 2 different standable spots and then straight to the door. Now, if you've played Metroid Prime casually, you'll know that at the top of the room with the phase-on elite, there's normally a wall there, but you're able to, if you push up against the wall in the right spot, you're able.
Interesting.
You know, slow strat, but it works.
Yeah, it does work. I've
You're
never
able
seen
to
that
boost
before.
through the wall just by repeatedly boosting, and then blow up the wall using the laser. In the optimal and 8% route, you need to collect a total of 5 missile tanks in order to have 25 missiles to fight the phase-on elite. And that is because the phase-on elite takes 25 missiles to kill, as long as none of them miss. And because of that, you really want to get the AI manipulation to work on him. It's pretty easy to accidentally mess it up because of the somewhat annoying collision on the monitors all around the room.
I believe his PB is a 113. I'm not.
To be fair, East, there are a lot of runners who could have sub 110 who just really haven't put the time in.
There are also some
Yeah,
runners that
single
could be
segment.
sub-hour and just have a petition made for them to get sub-hour. Skull. I'm also looking at you, Link. Don't you worry. Mr. 1 hour and 20 seconds. Man, I keep having to remind myself that he didn't do IBBF.
Yeah.
That scares me whenever I enter Hall of the Elders and I see the Chozo Ghost activate.
IBBF is a trick that skips the bomb puzzle directly after Zoid / the incinerator drone, and it requires you to do a wall crawl in order to actually be able to get your ice beam. It's very easy to mess up without practice. It does save a decent bit of RTA if done properly, because you don't lose the time due to all the cutscenes from the bomb puzzle, as well as you optimally don't have to fight the ghost at all. But
Yes. There's
small
a
mistakes
trick you have
can
to
put
do.
you minutes behind, and even if you don't fall during IBBF, if you activate the ghost at the end, if you activate the ghost when returning to
Hall of the Elders.
get your final artifact, then you haven't saved any time IGT. Though you can have saved time RTA. Interslice not opting to go for what's called ship dash, which allows you to just get directly to the point he's standing on now, with a dash from the top of the ship. Which is kind of odd, because throughout the rest of his gameplay, it seems like his shift, or like his dashes, have been of
East, no
sufficient
ship
quality
dash.
to be able to.
Never mind. 111.
I think he's correcting his message earlier about
Oh, okay.
what his 105 was.
Indeed,
Okay.
ship dash does save 8 minutes.
No, ship dash saves 6 seconds, just like every other trick.
6 or 8. Okay, so
Hey, I
East,
don't
yeah, I
know.
was correct. Okay.
Okay.
I mean, it's just the same reason why my 106 is actually a 114. I didn't do ship dash.
Okay. So, now that we've collected all of the artifacts and required pickups, we are moving on to the final bosses, which definitely can be a run killer. And the first of those final bosses is Metroid, who happens to have this fun quirk where if you boost into his chest, like you saw Interslice do, it completely ends his first phase.
I believe this is
Saving
because
you.
Boost Ball does an insane amount of damage per frame.
50,000 damage a frame.
Yes. So, times that by however many frames it takes for that damage to happen.
And Ridley's first phase just gets deleted. He got, like,
That was a
perfect
really
RNG
clean
on
Ridley.
the Ridley fight.
That was clean.
Now, everyone, this might be one of the very few Ridley fights you'll see throughout this entire 80% tournament where Ridley does not attempt to do any dashes whatsoever. And when Ridley attempts to do his dash, you are only able to interrupt him if you do a pretty difficult unlocked on shot to avoid the hitbox of his hand.
Yes, that's a good point, Cody. A fully charged plasma shot only does 100 damage.
Why is Interslice going for this climb of this room?
He may not know the updated climb.
Visual confusion. Okay, but this room normally is a complete and utter pain as the Metroids get in your way. There's a ton of pretty slow platforming, but you're able to skip most of it by jumping onto those vines right above the entrance door. He went to the far side of the room to get onto the vines instead of doing the slope jump or the BSJ East. You're able to skip the first section of platforming and just jump on a few platforms in order to get to the very end of the room.
Yeah, me neither. Haven't seen that strat either. Can't wait till this tournament sees its first EXO skip.
Yep. So, the boss that Interslice is currently fighting is the first phase of Metroid Prime, referred to by the community as EXO, which is basically just exoskeleton. During the EXO fight, there are 4 phases, each of them taking place in a separate sub-chamber. In the first phase, EXO will be vulnerable to either Power Beam or Wave Beam, and then once you've done enough damage, we'll swap over to being vulnerable to the other one. In Sub-Chamber 2, it will be Power Beam, Wave Beam, and Ice Beam. In Sub-Chamber 3, it's all 4 beams. And in Sub-Chamber 4, it's all 4 beams, except that EXO can can change its beam which beam it's vulnerable to whenever it feels like, instead of once you've done enough damage. It can also choose to go into what is known as turbo mode, or attacks at a significantly higher rate. Its animations are faster, and it messes up a lot of your timings. It can also choose to charge at you whenever it feels like it. In order to be able to do the fight quickly, what you're normally going to be wanting to do is to manipulate Exo's attack AI by standing close to it, in which case it will do the same melee attack every single time that it attacks, which allows you to just continuously be dropping fully charged shots into it. Then, when it charges you, near the very end of its charge, if timed properly, you can get a charge shot off, and then one more charge shot as it is turning around after charging. And if you're able to get both of those charge shots off with either Ice Beam or Plasma Beam, you're actually able to completely skip the next beam that it's going to be vulnerable to.
He's manipulating the boss's attacks really well. I don't know if you did you explain the
I explained it, but no, he's not going for it.
Oh, he's not? He was before, I thought.
No, he's... Well, okay, he's occasionally manipulated a single attack at a time, but he's not chaining them at all.
Hmm.
But now that I've finished explaining the entire Exo fight, Interslice is just about to finish Subchamber 3, so you'll get to see the you'll get to see what is potentially the trolliest part of the final bosses, which is that Subchamber 4 I talked about. Now, about, a year and a half ago now, a method for skipping Exo was discovered, which requires you to lure a fission Metroid, which are the special Metroids that you see. Man, Subchamber 4 was incredibly kind to him. Okay, so Exo Skip requires you to lure a fission Metroid to
you
door
lure it
at the
into
very
Crater
top of
Tunnel
the
B.
room.
Yeah.
And if you are in Crater Tunnel B, when it hooks onto you, it will be able to survive going into that room, and then you can use it to knock yourself out of bounds and do a pretty difficult wall crawl, completely skipping the Exo fight, saving over a minute compared to an optimal Exo fight.
I think the number's closer to a minute and a half to 2 minutes. I believe it was the last number I heard. Looks like Interslice may be going for a 2-pool.
Well, this isn't gonna be a 2-pool with how far away he is.
Yeah.
So, Essence is also a very annoying boss for most players starting out, and even more so for experienced players. What Essence does is that after doing a certain number of attacks, it will lay one of these pools of Phazon. Then you have to be standing in the Phazon in order to gain access to what is called Hyper Beam. Is it Hyper Beam or is it Phazon Beam?
It's Hyper Beam.
It's Hyper Beam, okay. And that is the only weapon that can actually damage Essence. Yeah, this looks like it's going to be at least a 4-pull.
Fun. I was gonna say, fun fact, this is the only other game besides Super Metroid that actually features Hyper Beam. I believe.
Something corruption.
Oh yeah, Metroid Prime Corruption has it too. My bad.
Um,
I've just played this game so much that I honestly just forget the third one even exists.
and Interslice has finished with an official SRL time of 1:33:29, which also happens to be their SRL PB by 17 seconds.
Alright, so let me...
There are two faster methods of fighting Essence than what you saw Interslice do. One is a two-pull fight, which is not recommended because it is exactly the same speed, if done perfectly, as a three-pull fight, and is not consistent at all. But the three-pull fight is decently consistent, and you're able to do it by doing what is known as attack canceling when fighting Essence. And basically what it is if you shoot at with a certain rhythm, you're able to cancel each of Essence's attacks and moves right as they're about to start, which burns through the counter that Essence goes through before laying its next pull. And by doing that, you're able to do a substantial amount of damage while also saving a bunch of time. Having that you would normally have to be waiting for another pull to get laid. If you do that twice on the third pull, if done, and that is a 111 for Interslice. That is his new PB. Congratulations to him.
That actually... yeah. Alright, I marked him as the winner, so that should have sent him a invite. For an interview.
Okay, so after the two pulls where you would want to be doing attack cancels, if you switch to doing what are known as pull cancels for the third and final pull, you're able to do enough damage in order that you're able to actually kill Essence during that third pull, because pull canceling doesn't actually use any of, well, doesn't, it uses, if it prevents you from draining the pull quickly and allows you to do substantially more damage than is intended. So if you had good first and second pulls, if you do about 11 to 13 pull cancels and then just dump the rest of the phase on in the pull, you're able to finish off this. Interslice still has not joined the interview room. Let's see if he's still doing so.
Send both runners a DM.
while we're waiting, everyone should go and follow both of our runners, both Interslice and Kalibur. Their stream links have just shown up in the chat. Both of them are definitely worth watching, and you should be able to actually see Kalibur be able to do a full run at some point, hopefully without having IRL emergencies. Okay, it appears that, yeah, he knows that you forfeit, Kalibur. Interslice is... oh, there he is. Also, please follow my co-commentator, Dante. He is the one who actually organized this whole tournament. He is also he's also chosen to fund a prize for the winner of the tournament, which is a new JP White GameCube controller, which are usually considered to be the highest quality GameCube controllers to use for both speedrunning and playing Smash Bros.
And definitely go follow my commentator, Mighty Caesar. He's a fantastic Prime runner who makes great tutorial videos, and he's just a great player, and you should definitely check him out on both Twitch and YouTube. How's it going,
but
Interslice?
now we have Interslice.
Good.
Nice,
So
congratulations.
how do you feel
my
about
dude.
that run?
You know, wasn't that great till the end. I had some pretty good luck on the bosses. Mainly, Ridley. Ridley was really fast.
Ridley didn't give you any charges, which is
Yeah,
always
it was all over the mouth.
It's always a good day when Ridley doesn't dash on you.
Yeah. My got everything first try mostly except for shaft 1. I kind of fell a bunch, and shaft 2 I spent a few seconds there falling.
Well, he only fell once in shaft 1, and
Yeah,
that
your
was-
shaft
Yeah.
one was
well, decided to kick
really
you out.
clean.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. I just got stuck and I couldn't move at all. Yeah, I wasn't even falling or anything. I've never seen that happen before.
Your BSJ in that room is really, really clean.
Yeah, it's funny. I just practiced that before this run, and before I practiced, I was doing awful at it. I was messing it up constantly. I guess the practice helped.
Any interesting things happen in your run?
Trying to remember. No, it was pretty standard, I think, for the most part. Trying to see where I lost time. There weren't any big mistakes. I just had some not great movement in some spots, mainly in the middle, I think.
Mm.
But I did a lot of safety saving, especially before Omega Pirate. I probably didn't need that one, but thought I'd be safe.
Yeah. I saw you kind of consider there whether you were going to get it, and I was like,
Yeah.
Get it!
Oh, those pirates, they destroyed me once I came out of there, too. They took a full E-tank in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what being pirates do a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Nice.
Your strat for Phazon Core was pretty interesting. A lot of people, or several the runners in the watching the Twitch stream hadn't seen it before.
I'm totally blanking on what Phazon Core is. What room is
It's
that?
the
It's
big
the-
room before Metroid Prime.
Oh yeah.
The tall room in Impact.
What do normal people do?
Most people do either.
I was just how I've always done it. I've never seen it. I don't really. I can't remember what other people do in that room.
There's a slope jump that you can get off of the if you once you exit that covered section from the first door, just directly to your left, you can do a slope jump to get on top of the vines that you jump to from that further position. You can also do a BSJ there to get on top. It's slightly faster than what you did, but not by all that.
It was just interesting because we
yes,
hadn't
I was
seen that
pretty
drop
happy with the
before.
run. It's too bad Kalibur had to leave on that.
Yeah. But still, congratulations on a new PB. That's always nice to
Yeah. Any
Are
other
there anything
questions,
you'd like to
Caesar?
say to our viewers here, Interslice? Well, okay. If there's nothing else that Interslice would like to say about the run, we'd like to thank all of you for watching this race. We apologize for the technical difficulties earlier, as well as our lack of commentary during those technical difficulties. We hope that you will continue to watch this 90% tournament as it moves along over the coming weeks. As Dante mentioned earlier, there are 2 races tomorrow, as well as 2 races on Saturday, and those are definitely going to be worth watching. You'll be able to see Dante run at 3 Eastern Daylight Time on Saturday.
Yep. And
Yeah, thanks for
second.
watching. Oh, is there another thing you wanted to say?
I was just saying, there's the schedule in chat if you guys are interested in seeing when any of the other races are. And I hope you guys have a great day.
We'll see you all next mission. Goodbye.